From New York, it's That Kevin Show.
See, I knew it.
Come on, Kev. What's a few classified documents between friends?
I told you all the time. I knew it. I knew he had some too.
Here he is, That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to That Kevin Show. So mentioned because I am That Kevin, and we are glad to have you with us. I am also pleased to welcome back Patrice Onwuka, who was just with us a week ago, you may remember. But since that time, we've had a presidential debate, and there have been some plans mysteriously cut and pasted onto Kamala Harris's website that now give us some detail of what she wants to do from an economic perspective. Patrice Onwuka is the economic policy advisor for the Independent Women's Forum. She heads up the Center for Economic Policy or something along those lines. Patrice, it's good to see you again. Thanks for being here.
Oh, it's great to be back, and thanks for having me.
You are a mom. You're a professional woman. You have degrees. You are very studied in the world of economics. You watched the debate, which immediately followed the cutting and pasting of Joe Biden's policies over to Kamala Harris's website. We know that's the case because the code actually got copied into her website. So when web writers were looking at her website, the code said, this says joebiden.com in the code. How seriously do you feel like she's taking economic issues if this is her approach to policy and based on what you saw in the debate?
I don't think she's taking it seriously in as far as it can get her elected. She's saying everything that she has done the opposite of in the past, only because she thinks that that is going to win her votes. But really, her actual agenda is a radical agenda. It's a Marxist agenda. It's an agenda that's going to drag us into socialism territory. And what that looks like is less choices for consumers, higher prices for consumers, strangling of small businesses, and frankly, the shrinking of the middle class, the exact opposite of what she's claiming to be supporting.
Okay, this is stuff that they're not hearing in a lot of other places. And certainly the moderators on the debate night did not do 1/10 of the pushback that you just gave to the Harris economic agenda. With no guile in my heart at all, I just want us to lay out the facts so that people can have a fair assessment of what we're talking about. She mentioned, and it was odd because the next day I was around some professional women and one of them brought it up, but she mentioned repeatedly an opportunity economy, $6,000 for the child tax credit. By the way, I don't oppose the child tax credit. By the way, neither does Donald Trump. $25,000 she's already mentioned to give first-time home buyers and $50,000 to give first-time business startups. Now, Patrice, that's a lot of money to just be given away. Where does it come from?
Well, it comes from where all of the trillions of dollars came from during the pandemic, printing money, which is, it's created out of thin air. And when you print money with no value behind it, it causes inflation. That's the end result of this. When we talk about all of the things that she put forward, her opportunity economy, I think she ripped that off of some conservative economic policy website, maybe even ours. But what she's trying to do is really just try to buy votes. $50,000 for new businesses. Okay, that sounds nice. Where does it come from? But also, what happens to all of the entrepreneurs that are people who have been in business for years and are struggling? They are feeling the impact of rising costs from their suppliers that they cannot pass on to their consumers who are already very stretched. So she's trying to just buy some votes with some potential new voters. The child tax credit, a great tax credit. Actually, a Republican idea from start to finish. Republicans first created it and have expanded it over the years. What the Biden administration did was to warp it into a weird version of itself that undermines work. Before, to have take the child tax credit, there was a work requirement attached to it. But President Biden removed that work requirement and gave it out in monthly payments, if you remember. So families were getting free money every month as though it was a universal basic income. That is, I think, where she wants to go with this idea of expanding the child tax credit. I love the child tax credit and I think it's a great idea, but it needs to be tied to work, and work needs to be an incentive. All of her ideas, they're either giveaways, the $25,000 for new home buyers. Okay, that sounds nice until you recognize that home sellers will then increase the prices of the houses that they're selling by $25,000. So really, you've just given new home buyers money that they're not going to really use, because the values of the prices of the homes are just going to rise even more. That's not going to help the housing market. So these ideas sound really nice and jazz people up, but when you look at the economics behind them, they do nothing. Meanwhile, she has not retracted her statement. She wants to get rid of the 2017 tax cuts. Every economist from every news outlet, from the Washington Post to the Wall Street Journal, have said that most people got a tax cut in 2017. She wants to overturn that. And she says she's not going to raise taxes for households making less than $400,000. But there are lots of ways that by increasing taxes on corporations, it's the workers who lose jobs, they lose pay increases. So there's like an indirect cost to all of this. And of course, it's all going to fuel inflation.
Well, she made a big deal about trying to say that, you know, she hasn't changed any of her values and that she's essentially the same person as she's always been. When you are in a debate where you don't get fact checked on what you say, but your opponent gets fact checked a lot on what he says, it's kind of easy to make that claim and then be allowed to scoot forward. But she has embraced some of the most dangerous economic ideas out there, and she has not recanted them. Specifically, she was a co-sponsor of the Green New Deal. Before we go to break, Patrice, I'd like to get an understanding of what kind of impact would the Green New Deal, if fully implemented, what kind of economic horrors would that unleash on our country?
It would decimate the energy, the domestic energy production that we have in this country. It would subsidize a lot of industries that are frankly failing because they're not meeting the demands. Frankly, there's not the demand for a lot of the green boondoggle products that are out there. People don't want them. And at the same time, it's going to force us to pay more in taxes and frankly be inflationary. So inflation, we've seen the rates start to decrease. The prices have not come down, and the Green New Deal are not going to bring prices down. They're going to shoot them higher.
She's one of the smartest ladies on the economy in our country. Patrice Onwuka is going to stay with me through this break, and when we come back, we're going to delve a little bit more into this debate. But friends, I really want you to understand the importance of what we are up against in this election. We are dealing with a media establishment that is literally willing to give this woman who received no votes, was hand-selected by elites, was thrust upon even her own political party as a nominee, and they are now trying to scoot her across the finish line without letting the voters really understand who she is. I've never seen, you talk about an assault on democracy. I've never seen an assault on the actual intelligence and democratic idea of America the way one is attempting to be thwarted upon us now. And that's why we're glad to have the Independent Women's Forum and Patrice and others joining us to talk about these important subjects. Stay with us.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.